So on May 16th, President Biden, he reversed a measure that Donald Trump ended Cuban reunification. He brought back the Cuban Family Reunification Parole Program. And what the Cuban Family Reunification Parole Program does is, after, if you are a petitioner and your family member lives in Cuba, and you file an I-130 visa petition for them, whether you are married to you're a U.S. citizen married to someone in Cuba, a lawful permanent resident married to someone in Cuba, you're filing for your children, you're filing for your brother, you're filing for your parents. As soon as that I-130 is approved, the U.S. Embassy can invite you in for parole to wait out for your green card in the United States with your family members. Now, wouldn't that be actually great if they did that for every country? They're only doing it for Cuba right now. We'll talk about why in a second. But when we always ask everybody, what would be your number one change in immigration law? Everybody always says these long waits.
These long waits, absolutely.
So they don't even have to change the immigration laws. All they have to do is say, we'll make a family reunification for every country. Or after the I-130 is approved, come in the United States on parole. As long as you pass background checks, you have good affidavits of support, and you would get a work permit and travel back and forth while waiting for your green card in the United States with your family. But right now they're just doing it for Cuba, Cuban Reunification Parole Program. And you wonder why. If you remember our discussion about the presidential elections, because people have good memories, squad.
Right.
Okay, they remember our discussions that the Cubans broke in Miami for Donald Trump, which caused Biden to lose Florida. Florida is a very important state for not only the congressional races, it's an important state for the upcoming presidential election. You don't think Biden making this special program, Cuban Reunification Parole Program?
Oh, is that to win them back?
To win them back. Because right now, the Cubans, Trump got a lot of Latinos who came from, countries that have a history of communism and socialism to paint Biden as a socialist. And nobody wants to escape communism and socialism and get to the next country, and it's communism and socialism again. So Biden, he got suckered by Trump on that one, and Trump got a lot of the Latinos who you would think would want to vote for Biden because it's not in their economic interest to vote for Trump. Trump's not cutting their taxes. They would pay less taxes under Biden. They'd get more social services under Biden. They would have better immigration laws under Biden, more rights provided to them by Biden. Except Trump painted Biden as a socialist. So once that was done, there was no coming back. People were voting against their own economic interests.
Right.
People were voting against their own social interests. So I think this is Biden's way of trying to claw back.
That makes sense.
In that community. I wish he would do it for all countries.
Yeah.
All right, not just Cuba. Because then, after the I-130 is approved, instead of, you have these long waiting times, quite frankly, you're still going to wait 15 years for your green card, but at least your family member can come to the United States. They can work, they can travel while they're waiting for their green cards.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good idea for everybody.
That would be amazing for everyone.
Yeah. And also, there was a big, thought process that, Biden was going to invite Cuba. There's a big summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, and that he was going to invite representatives of Cuba. Also decided not to do it. You want to know why?
Why?
Because the Cubans who escaped Cuba hate the Cuban government for the most part.
Oh, that makes sense.
So why would you want to bring them in to the Summit of the Americas?
Yeah.
So there was a thought that Biden was going to invite them, and then at the last second, he disinvited the Cuban delegation. He disinvited the Venezuelan delegation. He disinvited the Nicaraguan delegation. All 3 socialist communist countries. Because he needs to show he's not a socialist. He doesn't want to deal with socialists.
I wonder if he did that, invited and disinvited.
Maybe, yeah, politics.
So
Politics is
everybody
everything.
knows, hey, y'all, I'm on your side.
Yeah, politics is everything. So now there's about 10 other countries from Central, South America, and the Caribbean who now say they're going to boycott this summit because the United States disinvited Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. So we don't even know if this summit's going to end up going off or not.
Wow.
But it's all politics, and Biden's trying to claw back into the Cuban community.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Ooh. Shout out to my mama in the comments, guys. Mama Yo-Yo's
Mama
up in
Yo-Yo's
here.
there?
Yeah. She's up in here. What's up, mommy?
Does Mama Yo-Yo wear glasses?
No.
No.
She's perfect. Perfect in every way. My queen.
Okay, good. Now, this is trifling.
No.
According to a 2-year investigation by Georgetown Law School Center, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been secretly surveilling almost every American in the United States of America, whether they were a U.S. citizen, resident, non-resident, born in the United States or not. The report outlines the extent to which ICE has gone to form such a large-scale surveillance system that has reached into the lives of every person in the United States of America. The agency has gotten around local laws intending to protect individual privacy by turning to third parties, utility companies, private databases, and even the Department of Motor Vehicles to gather information from hundreds and millions of Americans and immigrants. They spent $2.8 billion from 2008 to 2021 on surveillance and obtaining data on American citizens who were born in the United States, naturalized U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, non-immigrant, visa holders, people undocumented, everybody. According to the findings from Georgetown Law Center, the report documents that ICE has the driver's license data of 3 out of every 4 adults living in the United States of America. They have scanned at least 1 out of every 3 adults' photos in a photo recognition software. The driver's licenses that they get, they take it and they go into some face recognition technology, kind of like some futuristic Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff.
Right.
You know, they can track the movement of vehicles in cities that are home to nearly 3 in every 4 adults. So ICE, 75% of the cars on the road right now, if ICE wanted to, they can find out where the car is.
Wow.
And they can locate 3 out of every 4 adults living in the United States of America, no matter what their status is.
Whoa.
All of this is from private companies selling data to ICE. So there are privacy laws, and ICE is getting around it by buying data from private companies. In California, Governor Newsom signed a bill that promised to protect utility customer data from exposure to federal immigration officials. But that same data was sold to Thomson Reuters and Equifax, private companies. And then those private companies sold it to ICE.
We need to find out all the rest of those companies as well, so we could just boycott them.
Yeah. Isn't that pretty scary?
That's heck is scary.
That's foul. Right, yeah. And you know, the gun debate now is going on strong in the wake of the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas. As we talked about yesterday, more than 200 mass shootings since January. And there is now, I guess, I don't know if it's sadly, ironically, but the NRA convention, the National Rifle Association convention, is going to take place in Texas.
Oh, gosh.
And they're going to invite many politicians to come and speak, and we'll talk about that in a second. But before we even get to that, there are laws right now that they can pass that are written, ready to be voted on in Congress. 2 bills that have already passed the House of Representatives that just needs to be voted on in the Senate to become law. One would require background checks for all gun sales. Makes common sense. Would not have prevented this tragedy because apparently the shooter in this tragedy did not have any criminal background.
Right.
But still makes common sense. Another one is that to close a loophole that allows gun sales to go through before the background check is even completed. So one, mandated background checks, and two, you don't get the gun until the background check is completed. Waiting for the Senate to vote on it. The Senate doesn't want to vote on it. So, we'll see what happens. And we talked about the NRA. They're having their big convention in Texas. Currently, 19 current or recent Republican senators, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators Rob Portman of Ohio, Joni Ernst of Iowa. They've taken at least $1 million each in campaign contributions from the NRA. Among others, Senator Mitt Romney, Republican of Utah. He ran for president in 2012. He's collected over $13 million from the NRA. Jameel Hill, a contributing writer for The Atlantic magazine, said grief does not overwhelm the soul nearly as much as $13 million from the NRA overwhelms your bank account. Hours after the mass shooting, President Biden urged Congress to end the carnage of gun violence. President Biden was tapped by Barack Obama to be the point person to end gun violence after the Sandy Hook shooting in Newton, Connecticut. He didn't really do much of a job there. So I don't expect him to do much of a job again. But it's a lot of rhetoric. He said, why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen? Where in God's name is our backbone? Comedy writer Bess Cab took it one step further and quote tweeted all the responses from GOP senators with how much they've received in campaign contributions from the gun lobby. After McConnell tweeted how he was horrified and heartbroken by the shooting in Uvalde, now the country was praying for those affected. Cobb, the executive producer of Amazon Prime's yearly Departed, used data from the Brady. Brady was the aide to Ronald Reagan who got shot.
Oh, okay.
And he lost a lot of his functions of his body. And I guess they now, in his honor, keep records of everything. And he gave a one-sentence reply. Mitch McConnell got $1,267,139. How horrified and heartbroken could he possibly be? So, and it really comes down to this. Okay, when you have Republicans saying people need guns in their hands to protect themselves from government, who are intruding on their lives, giving rights to people, giving rights to minorities, allowing pro-choice, free choice on an abortion, allowing same-sex marriages, giving people rights and liberties. And people say we need the government to stop being in our lives. And that's why we need a gun.
Yeah.
To shoot this government. I don't know how you shoot a government. To protect ourselves from this government. It's all a bunch of BS.
I agree.
All a bunch of BS. So, and by the way, the Supreme Court is going to loosen gun laws right here in New York City. It's poised to do it right now. There's a law in New York City that says you could only get a license to carry a gun if you are in special and unique danger. Otherwise, you don't get a license to carry a gun.
Okay.
All right. That's why New York City, for many years leading up to these last couple of years when we've had a spike in violence, and but was considered the safest big city in America because people were not allowed to have guns.
See?
It was almost impossible to get a license to carry a gun in New York City.
That's how it should be.
All right. And if you remember years and years ago, there was not, for such a big city, there was very few murders.
Yeah.
And then if somebody carried a gun in with a license from out of state, they were looking
couldn't-
at jail.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Couldn't
I
do that
remember-
either.
I remember that.
Right. Now, this law has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court. It was brought by the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and they're saying it is in violation of the Second Amendment that gives somebody the right to bear arms. And New York City is preventing people from bearing arms. And if they overturn this law, people will then be allowed to carry guns in New York City. We don't have enough violence in this city. We will have a lot more.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot more. And quite ironic, we talked about the NRA, their national meetings being held in Houston on Friday, tomorrow. Pumpkin is scheduled to speak.
Oh gosh.
And you want to know what's quite ironic about Pumpkin speaking at the NRA convention?
What?
He's insisting that everybody be patted down, no guns allowed. Can you imagine? The man who says everyone should carry a gun.
It doesn't even make sense.
The man who says everyone should carry a gun, going to the convention where
You're not gonna let them carry
the
their
National
guns?
Rifle Association that pays congressmen and senators millions of dollars to allow people to carry guns without even getting a license, without background checks, saying, you know what, if I'm going to give a speech, it's too dangerous to have guns. But I'm going to give a speech and say everyone should have a gun.
It's so hypocritical and backwards. That's why I said, like, once something, I feel like certain, Republicans, once something close happens, like a situation like this happens close to them or they're put into danger, that's when, it's like, oh, hold on. But to keep power and money, you're going to keep this up. It's
the Secret Service was asked by NPR News why Trump is not allowing guns. This is their statement.
Should let them.
They say it's the Secret Service has decided that the authority to preclude firearms from entering sites visited by our protectees, including those located in open carry states. I think it's quite hypocritical.
Very.
Yes. And by the way, you want to know another more hypocritical of this pumpkin? On February 14th, 2018, after the mass shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman High School in Parkland, Florida, when the 19-year-old gunman murdered 17 people, injured 17 others, there was a school security guard who was armed and ran and didn't protect anybody.
Oh, what?
President Trump called the behavior of the officer who stayed outside and did not go into the school during the shooting disgusting, and said he would have gone in the school even if he didn't have a gun to protect those kids. He said at the time, I really believe you don't know until you're tested, but I really believe I would have run in there even if I didn't have a weapon, and I think most people in this room would have done that too. And he's giving a speech to the NRA to allow everyone to have a gun, except in the auditorium where he's giving that speech. Nobody should have a gun.
Everybody in the comments.
Is that the height of hypocrisy?
Yes. Everybody in the comments. Let me know if you guys think that Trump would have ran into that school to help with no gun. Let us know.
Maybe if Melania was in there? Or no?
Oh, please.
No? Maybe if Stormy Daniels was in there?
No.
Maybe if Ivanka was in there?
No.
No. His daughter?
No.
No. Nobody.
Nobody.
Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.